Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Yellow Card Podcast, episode 17. With me, as always, Andrew Fasciano, Chris Jones. This is our last podcast of 2020. Impossible to believe that, but actually kind of extremely glad to believe that because we all know what kind of year 2020 has been. Um, it's been literally Odell Beckham Jr.'s fantasy. It's brown bold us all in the face, and we have not been able to do anything about it. But
Dude, come
besides
on.
that,
There's so many different ways you could have went with that. You went with that of all things. Oh boy, we're in fucking trouble.
well, gotta kick the dog while he's down. So, um,
Fucking.
but anyways, so on this episode today, we'll be talking, of course, about the Boxing Day fixtures fixtures that the English Premier League had. There's a lot actually going really well last night um, for that daily matchup. But we'll also talk about some of the best interesting things about 2020 in the world of soccer because even though 2020 brought us a lot of pain and whatnot, and a lot of challenges, listen, every year has some good things going for it. And 2020 had a few of those good things going for us. So, um, Andrew, I'm going to start with you because I know you're hell over the moon excited about this as Everton is now in the second place, trailing behind Liverpool by only 2 points. And you guys did it all yesterday without you two main pieces in Richarlison, who unfortunately is out on concussion protocol versus Manchester United. Um,
Yeah, you fucking asshole.
yeah,
Your fault.
I, I agree with that. I think I'll
What? That
give you
it's your
guys
fault that he has a concussion?
no, I'll give you
Is that
guys
what
my
we're
take.
agreeing on? Because yes, the answer is yes.
Everything is my fault. 2020. Um, but I was telling Andrew a few things that I thought about the Carabao Cup, and I'll give you guys my takes on this as well. But I'm gonna start with Andrew. Andrew, again, you must be overexcited. Give us your take about the Sheffield United versus Everton game last night, and what is what does Everton have going good for them this year that's working and that you think could put them as the new leaders of the English Premier League?
Yeah, going into the game, I was kind of worried that it had a decent potential to be a trap game of sorts, with Sheffield United obviously highly motivated, trying to get their first win of the season. Everton arguably missing, I would say, certainly four of their five best players in Luca Digne, Allen, Richarlison, and James Rodriguez. The fifth this season, I would say, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was in the lineup, of course. Um, and then also just in terms of fatigue from the number of matches they're playing, I think we'll probably get into this later with the Carabao Cup discussion, but I think that was a big factor in the game between Everton and Man United was that Man United was able to rotate their squad and make, I think, 7 or 8 changes, and Everton really didn't have that same luxury. And I think it showed up in how tired some of the legs were in that game. So I was a little nervous heading in. Obviously it was a game on paper that Everton should be winning, but there were factors around it that made it, I think, trickier than it looked just on the schedule. So I was pretty pleased that they were able to come away with the win. I think something we've seen since Ancelotti has come in is that Everton has just been a much tougher team to play against overall. And I think one stat that's particularly reflective of that would be how they've performed in away games. It's all well and good to win at home in front of your home fans, but winning on the road, especially in the Premier League, is something that's really tough. I think the EFC Stat Out on Twitter, if you're an Everton fan, great account to follow. They have lots of good statistics about what Everton are doing. They pointed out today that Everton have won 9 of 18 away games under Carlo Ancelotti. And prior to Carlo Ancelotti arriving at Everton, they won just 9 of their 55 previous away games in the Premier League. So that's been a drastic shift. Of course, the obvious counter argument to that would be that there's not any fans in the away stadiums right now, so that it's easier to play away games, which I think has some validity to it. But at the same time, it's still hard to go away from home in the Premier League and get results. And Everton have been able to do that a lot more consistently, which is great to see.
Yeah, I think you actually nailed it right on its head too. I think what Ancelotti has implemented in Everton, a lot has to do with discipline, because he's definitely straightened up some of the bad apples of the tree that Everton had. I mean, Richarlison had an attitude problem before when the previous management was there with Silva. Um, but I think with now Ancelotti and his vision of the whole entire team has really been able to and focus the whole entire starting 11 to actually get to that primal goal, and it's starting to show results. Um, so I'm actually extremely happy for Everton. I not just because James Rodriguez plays there and because I'm Colombian, I'm a big fan of the guy, but
No,
over
that's the
over
majority of the reason. But yeah, it's fine.
no overall. Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk about James Rodriguez, then we also have to talk about Jerry Mina, who's another Colombian as well. But besides that, again, Everton has really been able to focus their mindset, and it's starting to show a lot of results. I do agree that there is a little bit of physicality improvement to be done, just because again those tire legs really showed in the Carabao Cup, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I also have a question for Chris, because Chris was actually super excited about Arsenal getting Thomas Partey, but he was also very happy about Chelsea getting, actually getting the best part of the whole entire offseason, signing from the English Premier League. And then yesterday, the two teams went head to head, and the underdog, which we all know that I'm a sucker for underdogs here, the underdog came into London and really delivered a whole different version of the Arsenal that we've seen. Is it time to think that maybe Arsenal is going to be turning the page and maybe finally focus on what Arteta's been preaching and singing about? Or do you think that just Chelsea just had a bad game and Arsenal came in lucky with this one?
Sorry, I'm over here dying. I think more so the fact is, I think that yesterday we kind of saw the style of Arsenal that we saw when the restart happened after the COVID, uh, after the COVID like base period where they had a little time off. But I mean, it just makes you think: is this team better without Aubameyang in the lineup? Because they looked pretty good yesterday with Lacazette up front, and they just looked like they were built to play against a team like Chelsea. And for Chelsea too, they have to start figuring out what's working for them, because what they've been doing is they've kind of been testing the waters on playing guys in different spots. What they need to do is they need to stick Christian Pulisic on the left wing. He needs to be there. You got to stop moving him from the left side and the right side. He's got to play on the left side. That's his natural spot. That's where he plays. The thing about Timo Werner and Tammy Abraham is Tammy Abraham's playing so well that Frank Lampard feels obligated to put him in the lineup. For Chelsea, I'm saying it all year, you got to run the 4-3-3, but if you're going to run it, you either run the 4-3-3 with the center defensive mid or with the cam. You can't run like just a regular 4-3-3. So if they want, you have Conte, you have N'Golo Conte. You literally put him in the back as your center defensive mid, and then your other two midfielders are, more up in the offensive zone, and it can help create. So like guys like Mason Mount gets better, more field, more ways to touch. And you also get guys like Kai Havertz who might get a different role and could do the same exact thing. As long as you keep your front three with Abraham, Werner, and Pulisic, as long as you keep it where everybody's playing well, I don't see why this team shouldn't be running over everybody. And also, too, you got to think they're also missing Ziyech, who is another guy that could play for them in the midfield. So they have plenty of things. For Arsenal, I just think they're going to get ready to go on a run. I really do. Because looking at the schedule, you got Brighton, you got West Brom, you play Newcastle in the FA Cup. Then you got in the EPL, you still got Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Southampton, and then you have Man United to end off in January. I don't see why they can't win 1, 2, I don't see why they can't win 4 out of their next 5, no matter who it is. I don't see how they can't get 8 points out of that. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that Arsenal's, I think, starting to realize, and they're going to need to take advantage of, because what they want to do is they want to be in contention for the Champions League next year. Obviously, they have a lot of work to get up there, but they want to also solidify a Europa League spot. And right now, where they're at, doesn't do it. And also, they have a tough matchup coming up in February against Benfica. So they're going to want to start getting into form. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're not done making moves yet. There's been a name that I've seen linked with Arsenal for the past couple of weeks now. And I'm kind of okay with it for Arsenal fans. But it's all about what direction you want to go in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So depending on what direction you want to go in, it could be the guy. It could be the moves that could help you. And it basically what it is, it's another midfielder that is making up for them not getting Houssem Aouar from Lyon.
Okay. So I mean, the thing for me about Chelsea is so they actually worked with that 4-3-3 lineup yesterday, right? But the problem that I have the most with that is the inconsistency between a good day by Tammy Abraham or a good day by Kai Havertz. But they both just can't seem to just have regular standing performances on any other games. Kai Havertz one day has massive form, scores, passes, and whatnot. Everyone's like, holy crap, what a signing by Chelsea. But then there's 3 other games that come down, and everyone's like, the dude's a bust. And the same thing happens with Tammy Abraham, too. I agree with you. He is actually a very solid player, and I think we'll see better of him actually come Qatar 2022 when he's in the World Cup. But in this system that Frank Lampard is working right now, Tammy Abraham's position is not solidified yet. It's going to be a continuous war room in that locker room between Tammy Abraham and Kai Havertz, just because neither one of them has a role solidified as the driving force of that attack. Then you also have a guy like Oliver Giroud, who's also on the bench. It can attribute so much to that offensive lineup as well. But again, the inconsistencies of his game continue to be a problem. So at what point do you, as Frank Lampard, do you say, I need to get rid of these inconsistencies that I have in my locker room and set the tone moving forward for my team and trade off an Oliver Giroud for a rookie that you know is just going to be support, but that you can work on several different roles so that there's not that much tension in the locker room, and you still have your 2 reliable offensive forwards and an additional centerpiece that can work as a forward or as a midfield.
I actually think that if Frank Lampard wasn't a Chelsea legend as a player, he might be facing a little bit more scrutiny than he is.
Oh, I
right
agree
now.
with that.
I mean,
absolutely.
They spent a lot of money in the offseason to bring in those guys that you're talking about, Diego, and Werner and Kai Havertz.
Mm-hmm.
And at their best, I mean, there's no denying that they've been fantastic at times this season in glimpses, but it just hasn't been consistent enough. And if you think about how much money has been spent, these are players who were very, very good for their clubs before they moved to Chelsea. So I think maybe, I mean, I think it's too early to want Lampard to be fired or to say that he's failing in his role. But I think that maybe if the situation was a bit different and it was a manager who had been brought in from the outside, there would be more questions being asked, because with the amount of talent that he has at his disposal, I don't think it's quite acceptable at this point to see the inconsistencies that you're alluding to, Diego.
Absolutely. And I mean, for a team that actually, like I said and alluded to earlier, that had one of the best offseason signings of 2020, you're in 7th place and you're struggling to find your identity. Either there's a lot of tension going on in that locker room, or you as a manager have really not set the tone straight with the rest of the locker room, or 3, you have a lot of egotistic personnel in that locker room, and something needs to be worked out ASAP before the rest of the team begins a week. But besides that, I gotta move over to Liverpool, Leicester, and Manchester City. So Liverpool, for now, holds the lead of the Premier League, but for how much longer is the question? Considering that Everton is heating up, in a way, Manchester United is heating up as well, and Tottenham is still not out of the question. They struggled for the past 2 games, but they're still not out of the question just yet. So for how long does Liverpool hold the lead and continues to hold on to that number 1 spot? Chris, your takes?
For me, dude, it all bases off of what the schedule looks like down the stretch, because I feel like Liverpool can match up with the majority of the teams in the league. But again, you look at a team like Everton, who's been producing well as of late. You got Leicester City, who's I think they're 3-1-1 in their last 5. And Man United, who's 3-2-0 in their last 5. You got teams that are starting to figure it out, get their footing in the Premier League. You might want to be a little nervous. And also, too, they still don't have a starting center back.
They do not.
That's the big thing. They don't have a starting center back.
And the actual funny thing about Liverpool too is, as the Premier League has been going on, they struggle against bottom feeders. They struggle against Fulham and only got a 1-1 tie, and then they struggle against Brighton and did a 1-1 as well.
Listen, if you want to talk about bottom feeders, they'll shut you up right there, because they literally smacked Crystal Palace 7-0 the other night.
But Crystal Palace is not a bottom feeder; they're in the middle of the table kind of team.
I mean, if you want to consider it, depending on what you would label as a bottom feeder, they're
the bottom feeders
14th.
right now. The bottom feeders right now for me are the teams that are basically facing relegation if they continue their current roles. So somebody like Sheffield United.
So you're talking
like
Brighton, Burnley, Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield. Got
exactly. So the next game is against West Brom. I'm not going to say West Brom is going to come in and beat Liverpool. I can't say that even if I was on drugs. But
you could.
I think they could see themselves struggling again, where they have either another 1-1 cop-out performance, or it's a highly contended game and Liverpool only wins 1-0. Because the Crystal Palace SmackDown, I think that was unprecedented for many, because Crystal Palace could have actually done a much better performance. And I think even for Roy Hodgson himself, he was like, what the hell just happened to my team? We got trashed like never before.
I don't know, man. It can go either way. But I think for Liverpool, in order to basically remain the top, they have to lead the table in goals for, and that's what they're doing right now. They have 36 goals forward in 14 games. They have a plus 17 goal differential. They're going to need to keep it like that in order to remain at the top of the table. But one team that I feel like people really aren't talking about, because everybody thinks that they should be much better than they are record-wise, is Man City.
Yeah,
Man City in 14 games has only allowed 12 Premier League goals. They're 7-5-2, yes, but what they're doing is they're getting going at the right time, and I think this is the time where we're going to see Man City pop back up into the top of the table in the next coming weeks, because you have 2 key matchups. You have Everton and you have Chelsea. Those are your next 2 games for Man City. You need to at least get a win in one of them. Mm-hmm. Don't care who it is. You have to get a win in at least one of them in order to. Then you have the EFL Cup against Man United, FA Cup. But then if you look at it, they play 5 straight against the bottom of the table and some of the bottom feeders. They play Brighton, they play Palace, they play West Brom, they play Sheffield, they play Burnley. So they have a chance to legitimately pick up ground. You need at least 2 points in the next 2 games in order to solidify that.
The thing that I see about Manchester City, though, is that, and I said this in a few episodes earlier in the season as well, I think their main focus this year is actually Champions League more than Premier League. And the reason I say that is because the Premier League, their winning stance have actually just begun as of the past maybe 4 games or so, if I recall that right. But it hasn't been like, I mean, the best performance obviously was against Arsenal in the EFL Cup where they beat Arsenal 4-1. But if you look at a couple of weeks ago, they struggled against West Brom and only got a 1-1 tie. The Manchester Derby was as boring as it could have ever been. It was 0-0. Then they kind of struggled to get a commanding scoring game against Fulham, who they should have technically have beaten, kind of like what Liverpool did to Crystal Palace, if we're going to be talking realistically, because Manchester City has all that talent to beat Fulham that way. Then you move over to Southampton, who they only beat 1-0. Now, granted, Southampton is playing a lot of great football this year and has been a massive surprise for many. But then yesterday's game against Newcastle, it was a good game, but they struggled to get their offense going for a good while. So again, Manchester City, I think they could possibly end in the 5th, maybe 4th spot this year.
I think Man City finishes top 4 at least.
But I will say that their major focus this year is actually Premier League. I mean, Champions League.
Yeah, they want to win the Champions League again, and I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
But also, too, at the same time, if you want to get Lionel Messi, you need to at least be in the Champions League next year.
Oh, absolutely.
That's their big thing. Is if Pep can only do so much. If we're playing in Europa League football next year, he's not coming here. So we need to legitimately be in the top 4. We don't have to win the table, but we need to be at least in the top 4.
I think if I'm Lionel Messi and I'm looking to leave Barcelona, I'm looking to leave it for a good cause and go to a different team where I can help be the rebuild situation of it. And I think this is where Manchester City could just say, let's just tank in Premier League and maybe 7th and 8th, get Lionel Messi, but still have a phenomenal performance in Champions League so that he knows we're coming back into this because you're going to attribute so much into this. And you're going to be the leading force for Manchester City.
I have such a take on where Messi's going to go next year, but I'm going to save it for another time because there's just literally you said right off the bat, the first thing that came out of your mouth was what word? Rebuild.
Rebuild, yeah.
There's one team in the top league in one of the top leagues in the world that definitely could use a rebuild, and having a guy like Messi as a part of that rebuild.
I'm thinking Inter Milan personally, but I'm thinking Inter Milan.
It's exactly who I'm thinking. That's exactly who I'm thinking. Right off the tongue, dude. Right off the tongue. Yep. Because think of it like this: you've performed in Serie A for so long. The last couple of years in Champions League, you haven't been good for Inter Milan, right? You get a guy like Messi to come in, right? Mm-hmm. Play him with Romeo Lukaku, and that team, they're missing a piece, maybe 2, in order to contend Champions League. And also, what you get in Serie A? You get Ronaldo versus Messi at least twice, maybe 3 times a year.
Absolutely. I agree with that. That's so another team that we haven't really talked much about. It's quite a pleasant surprise too, though. I will say.
Oh, I already know who you're talking about. No, I don't want to talk about him.
Who's that?
Leicester City.
No. Aston Villa.
Oh, the other one. Okay.
Aston Villa has been quite the surprise too. Jack Grealish continues to be
the best player on the planet. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, I gotta be honest with you. If I'm somebody like Barcelona or like Real Madrid, and I'm looking to basically put new foundation blocks onto a new like Galactico era, like there was back in early 2000s when you had Figo, Zidane, Ronaldo, and all those guys for Real Madrid. This is the guy that I'd be looking to build around with. Like Jack Grealish deserves to be in a massive team like Real Madrid or even Barcelona. The dude is playing the best football I've ever seen him play in the past, I don't know how long, 2-3 years maybe. But is there something additionally that Aston Villa is missing that could actually put them or move them forward to top 5, maybe even have Champions League season going into 2021, 2022?
Andrew?
I think they could probably use continued strengthening of their defense for me. if I had to point at a weakness, that's probably that. But to your point, Diego, about Jack Grealish, I got to be honest, I'm not sure he wants to play anywhere else than Aston Villa.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this past summer he signed like a 5-year deal. Obviously, he grew up in Birmingham, in Birmingham as an Aston Villa fan, and I think he said at length in the past that like there's nothing really above him than captaining Aston Villa in the Premier League, and that's what he's doing right now. I mean, if something went wildly wrong and Aston Villa got relegated, then I think obviously Jack Grealish is far, far too good to be playing in the Championship right now.
Absolutely.
So I think that could potentially see him move out of there, but I'm not honestly. I think that's something that's honestly kind of nice to see. Like in the modern day game, a lot of it is about kind of always trying to move up and improve on your positioning. So it's, for me at least, it's kind of refreshing, honestly, to see a player who's just truly loves where he is and is playing for a team that genuinely makes him happy. And I think that sort of reflects a little bit in how well he's playing. You know, Aston Villa is Jack Grealish's team right now, and I don't know if he would want to swap that, as attractive as a big move might sound.
I would think depending on what the money would look like, you know, because at the end of the day, money does talk. Don't care who you are, money does talk. But right now, his value, he's going to be in like the 50 millions for value. It can only go up from here too. You know what I mean? So I think for them, they have like Andrew said, I think they have to strengthen their defense. I think Matty Cash is a great right back, but you need to put some other talent or some depth pieces in there as well, because I would say you have a pretty solid goalie in Emiliano Martinez, who I believe leads the league right now currently in clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I think he's like 5th in all of Europe's top 5 leagues too, or something like that.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But so like they just need to strengthen their defense, and they can easily be playing Europa League football next year.
They could be,
in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot going for them too. They have Tyrone Mings, who continues to be a really good center back. They have oh good God, why do I always draw a blank on his name?
Matty Cash?
No, not Matty Cash. They got the youngster, the 19-year-old Jacob Ramsey, who could also be another situation of brand new talent just brewing up and waiting for his shining moment.
Not for nothing, dude. They're all
super young.
They're all super young. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're a team that has spent a lot of money, but I think they've gone about it in a really smart way, like you guys are saying. Like they have pieces throughout their team, whether it's in defensive midfield. Douglas Luiz is a nice young piece who's only going to continue to improve. Or up top, Ollie Watkins. I thought that was a phenomenal signing from Brentford. He's really hit the ground running. He's young, English. Again, another player who I think took quite a bit of money to bring on board, but is only going to improve and help Aston Villa as the project continues and they solidify themselves as a Premier League team.
I actually think another essential piece that they have going for them is Bertrand Traore, and that is something that Chelsea lost on big time. If they had a Bertrand Traore in their lineup, forget about creativity in your offensive profile. You have Traore and Pulisic connecting together. Chelsea takes over the English Premier League any day of the week. Any day.
I still think they're going to. It's just they're going to need a full year to get the tides turning. Also, fun fact about Jacob Ramsey. You know who his brother is?
Aaron Ramsey, isn't it?
Actually, his brother is Aaron Ramsey.
Yep.
Thought that was the weirdest thing of that when I was looking it up.
So ahead of the January transfer window, do you guys see one particular team in the Premier League that's feeling the pressure most to spend a lot of money to try and save their season or salvage something? Because I think the obvious answer would probably be Arsenal, but is there anyone else that you guys think are kind of feeling the pinch a little bit?
A little bit, and I'm going to look right over to my right on the screen, depending on what it looks like, on YouTube. I'm going to look right at my friend Diego over here. I think Man United's about to do a little shake up.
Oh, they've needed it a long time ago. I've alluded to many times already. I think people like Jesse Lingard have got to go. Maybe even Nemanja Matic, even though I like him and whatnot, he's just way too old for Manchester United right now, and it's hasn't attributed much. Actually, when he does play, he takes playtime away from a healthy, reliable Scotty McTominay, and that's just not fair to somebody who's brewing up a lot of talent. Anthony Marshall has got to go. The guy has been garbage all season long for Manchester United. I don't care what anybody says. The guy has been garbage. So if you
Take
let
him.
go,
I'll
yeah.
take him. I'll take
So-
him over here. I'll take him over here in Juventus. Let's go.
yeah. So I mean, if Juventus is really interested in doing that swap deal between Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Paul Pogba for Paulo Dybala, Manchester United wins that transfer any day of the week because in additional pieces, you can include Anthony Marshall and still clear out the locker room, give an actual role now to somebody who's growing up to be an extreme talent with somebody like Mason Greenwood, who can actually finish much better than Anthony Marshall can. You give a new role to your best offensive player right now, which is Edison Cavani. Yesterday, when he went into that game against Jesus Christ, why am I struggling? Against Leicester City, Leicester looked like they were about to poop their pants right in the middle of the game because here comes Edison Cavani at like the 70th minute, I think. And the dude shook up the course so bad that in less than 5 minutes, he set up the goal piece for Bruno Fernandes. And they didn't know where to, defensively, they didn't know where to contend and fight against Edison Cavani because Cavani was just all over the place. He was just that good. He knows his role very well. I agree. Manchester United needs a massive clear out, and they need it now. I think the January window is a perfect opportunity for that. So, like I said, Anthony Marshall has
If
got to
I'm
go.
Man United, dude, I'm calling West Ham for Declan Rice immediately. I'm calling them for Declan Rice immediately.
So the problem that I have with that is
like I'll call West Ham for him right now, immediately, right now.
So the problem that I have with that is I love Declan Rice at all, and I agree he is a phenomenal talent. But then what do you do with Marcus Rashford, though?
Declan Rice plays center defensive mid.
He
Play
does.
Marcus Rashford in the wing.
He does, but he also plays the wing position as well.
But if you're going to get Declan Rice, you're going to play him as center defensive mid. You're not going to play him at wing unless you're strapped for injury and you need to put him on wing.
Because you also
opinion.
gotta get rid of if you just have a defensive center mids right now just to have them, it's not fair. Because then you also gotta get rid of Marcus Rojo. You gotta let go of Phil Jones, whether it is the Chinese market or whatever. You gotta repurpose Eric Bailly and repurpose Axel Tuanzebe, who's actually a good center back. You gotta let go of Mengi. You gotta let go of Odion and Gallo. I mean, there's a lot of things that Manchester United has got to clean up, and I don't. This is a full mess that Solskjaer has caused for himself, and I'm not sure that he even knows how to repair it. But a team that I think actually badly needs a signing is Wolves. To me, Wolves was gonna be a wrecking force in the Premier League. They're trailing behind a Leeds United who doesn't have major pieces and continues to be a pain in the ass for any top flight team that plays them. Obviously, except Manchester United, who outbeat them 6-2 or whatever the score was. But it wasn't much of a fair game to Leeds United either. There was just a lot going very well for Manchester United. But when you think of Marcelo Bielsa and what he has had to work with, this team could make a lot of money next year if they decide to trade off a lot of pieces and build off of that. And they could be a complicated thing of 2021, 2022 for any team in the Premier League if they build off of those trademarks that they make. Uh, and of course, Tottenham. Tottenham has got to do something. They got to figure it out. I like the Bale signing and all of that. Has it been effective though?
He ain't staying long. He ain't staying long.
Exactly.
He
So
ain't staying long.
what else
So,
do you do for Tottenham though? What else do you do?
If you don't get Champions League football, you fire Jose Mourinho and move Harry Kane.
Okay.
I mean, well, first of all, if Dele Alli is not going to play, move him. Put him literally anywhere. You'll get a good sum of money for him, and then you can use it on other pieces. But them teeter-tottering with Dele Alli right now, that's their big issue.
Yeah. Yep.
They're teeter-tottering with Dele Alli. The second that they move on or they play him, everything's gonna fall into fruition for them, in my opinion. But to go back on what Andrew said on Arsenal, that's the big team that everybody's talking about. What does Arsenal need to do, Andrew, in your opinion?
Honestly, I think it might be less about actually bringing pieces in
and then getting pieces out.
Exactly. I think it's more about sorting out the dumpster fire that's going on there right now and figuring out an identity and what players you have there that actually fit into that identity. I mean, like we talked about last week, Mesut Ozil isn't even registered in the Premier League. No. Yet I saw on Twitter that it came out that they wouldn't allow him to leave the club in January. Like, what is the thought process behind that? If you have a player that you're not going to play, you're not even thinking about playing because he's not registered to play in the Premier League, yet you're paying so much money. I don't even know how much he's on. It's a lot of money a week that you're just pouring down the drain.
350,000 euros.
Yeah, geez. That's like that. Objectively, from a business perspective, you can't continue to do things like that if you're Arsenal. And I mean, those sort of decisions are why they're in the position they're in right now.
Well, also too, to go back on it, you gotta make it seem like the locker room's divided, because you have guys who like Mesut Ozil and they want him to be there. Then you have the guys who are like, oh, okay, that's fine, we don't need him. So for me personally, I think they either move on for him or put him in the lineup. But I think what's happening is we're getting a lot of midfielder talk for Arsenal. And there's two names I've been seeing pop up for the past couple of weeks. The first one I saw is probably the bigger one is Christian Eriksen from Inter, because he's doing absolutely nothing over there. So him going legitimately anywhere in the English Premier League could be a step up for him. If Arsenal wants to do a flippy flop and give Ozil out to them, wouldn't be a bad little move for them as well. Then you finally potentially get a locker room that comes back, or another team who you could do a swap deal for in that aspect. As of late, there's been a Borussia Dortmund midfielder that has been linked to Arsenal recently. You know which one that is, Diego? Andrew? Anybody?
Is it Julian Brandt?
It's Julian Brandt.
That's the only person I could think of. Okay.
Julian Brandt has been linked to Arsenal as of late. If I'm Arsenal and I'm trying to send Mesut Ozil right out, that's the deal I'm taking right off the bat.
If you're 100%. Julian Brandt, do you want to go to Arsenal right now?
He's not playing in Dortmund though. He has an actual chance to play for Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like as much as it looks like a quote unquote dumpster fire, their issue is they have a guy who they're paying large sums of money to not be registered at all. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. Either play him or move on from him. If you're Dortmund, how do you not even just give them a call and say, hey, you interested in doing an Ozil for Brandt swap and then add some money to make it even? I just don't get it. If you're that desperate to get rid of this guy, why aren't you doing it? Save yourself some money.
Yeah.
I think it all comes down to me personally. It all comes down to leadership. I don't think Arteta knows what to do with all of this talent. It's been a rough year for him. He did okay when he took over, but now that he's got his pieces, he has no game plan. And when you have a reliable Mesut Ozil just sitting on the bench and wondering what to do with him, this isn't so much a talent question. This isn't so much even of what's going on in the locker room. It's the atmosphere that you've set the tone with for the entire organization. And Arteta wasn't much, personally to me, Arteta wasn't a major legend for Arsenal. If we're gonna talk about legends for Arsenal, then you gotta be talking about Patrick Vieira. You gotta be talking about Thierry Henry. You gotta be talking about those guys that were essential for what Arsenal was in the past. I think for me, what I would do is just like Mauricio Pochettino has now been repurposed to go to PSG. I bring Thomas Tuchel and bring him a new role in a Premier League team that has a lot of potential to become a major force to be reckoned with, and that is what I would do.
I wouldn't hate that move for Arsenal, in the fact that I just, even when we had the FCLO guys on, the Arsenal fan said he doesn't know if Arteta is his guy. That's how you know you should be moving on, right there.
And I mean, you wouldn't hate obviously on the opportunity of having somebody like Massimiliano Allegri or maybe even Rafa Benitez, but Benitez is more of a kind of like a conservative person. He just keeps whatever has been going on to keep it going, and then if he's getting the opportunity next year, then he'll rebuild it. But he's not a major changer immediately, and that is what Arsenal needs. Massimiliano Allegri is somebody who will just risk it all to be offensive, and I'm not sure that Arsenal has the correct defensive pieces to make that risk. So I think you need a creative force to repurpose the whole team, and that's where I think Thomas Tuchel could be essential and could actually shed himself a lot of light onto himself, because he basically did that with PSG. Just this last year, he just struggled to keep Neymar and Mbappe because of whatever drama's going on in that locker room. You know.
No, I think we touched upon the English Premier League long enough.
But besides that,
again, the last episode of 2020. Why don't we talk about the year 2020?
So what
a year it's been for soccer, by the way.
It really has been, and there's been so many shakeups. But name three of the things that have been the best or the shockers of 2020 for you.
So why don't we do like the most shocking that you've seen in 2020, the best moment that you can recall from this year's football, and then the shocking, the best moment, and then the worst moment.
Sure.
Why don't we start off with the best, because that's usually what people like to look for. Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, Andrew.
Let's see. For me personally, the moment that I had the most fun with soccer in 2020 was the Revs playoff run. I think, considering everything that happened in this year, we were all kind of crying out for like a feel-good story to get behind and to have something to buy into. And for most of the season, the Revs were honestly kind of disappointing. It wasn't their fault because of injuries, but they pulled it all together at exactly the right time. And that playoff run was an absolute blast to watch, to talk about, to write about. So for me personally, that's my favorite / best moment in 2020.
Okay.
I got two, so I'll give one, and then I'll let Diego give one, and I'll give my other one.
Well, wait a minute, because he just talked about his best moment of 2020, but what was the shocker and what was the other one that Chris had asked about?
Shocker and the worst moment of 2020.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
Let's see. Shocker. I honestly sometimes still can't believe that Carlo Ancelotti is the manager of Everton Football Club. It's a shocker in a good way. I mean, if you think about the pedigree that he had, back when Arsenal and Everton were both looking for a manager at the same time, and it seemed like it was likely that Arteta would come to Everton and Ancelotti would go to Arsenal. And I personally am very glad that it didn't work out that way. No disrespect to Mikel Arteta, but I mean, Carlo Ancelotti is one of the best managers of his generation, and I mean, just the standings and the wins since he's come in tell the story. I mean, Everton are in such a better place than they were a year ago, so that was a good shock. Worst moment, you might have to come back to me. I'm still thinking on that.
Yeah, see, that's why I was what's called. Daniel's over here trying to put you on the spot. I was at least trying to buy you some time in order to think of other stuff like that. He's like, no, he's gonna have all three right now. No questions asked. We've been talking about this all week. This is what we need to talk about right now.
So listen, if we were to take a personality role test, we just determined that Chris Jones is the Mikel Arteta, while
Oh,
Andrew's
fuck that, dude. Fuck
Andrew's
that.
the Carlo Ancelotti, and I'm over here like just playing my role just to play it.
Yeah, you're only gonna. That's who you are.
All right, so go ahead, Mr. Mikel Arteta. Let me know. Let me
Don't
know
call
what
me
you're.
Mikel. Don't, listen. My best moment from this year. I have two. The first one was Liverpool's absolute dominance over the EPL. It was a story that we haven't seen in quite some time, especially this team who literally hasn't won a Premier League title in 30 plus years.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good feel-good story, especially after last year when they won the Champions League. So to have that on top of it, it's been good for Jurgen Klopp and company. My other best moment. Let's look at excuse me. August 2020, Bayern Munich 8, Barcelona 2 in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. It's personally, dude, Barcelona and I we just don't get along. And to see Bayern Munich absolutely dominate the entire Champions League from start to finish, I thought was pretty cool as well. So those were my two top moments of 2020. My shocking moment is definitely I think my shocking moment definitely is oh wow, I had it and I lost it. Definitely, honestly, you know what? It's going to be Atletico Madrid being Liverpool in the Champions League because no one saw it coming. Liverpool was this dominant team throughout the entire year, and Atletico Madrid in the first leg beat them 1-0. The second leg they had to go to added extra time, and legitimately they beat them outright. And it was a shell shocking moment for the entire Champions League. Between that and Juventus losing to Lyon, which I don't want to talk about personally because it still hurts. But yeah, no, that's my shocking. Obviously, the worst moment in football this year is definitely what just happened recently in the PSG Istanbul Başakşehir game. I think we can all agree that was probably one of the worst moments of the year because of the fact that they've spent the majority of 2020 trying to end racism and have everything with equality and everything like that. And it just showed that nothing has changed in the 6+ months that they've been trying to do something. So it was just an eyesore on the year 2020. Yep. But other than that, it was a good year. It was a good year for soccer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the shocker was definitely the Barcelona defeat of 8-2 against Bayern. I mean, listen, I can't hate on Lionel Messi. He's obviously just a super talented man.
Second best player of all time behind Cristiano Ronaldo. I agree.
But quite frankly, though, Barcelona's cockiness and arrogance has gotten them to the point that everybody wants to deliver an 8-2 to them on a weekly basis. And it's time that they unveil a new character for themselves, a new kind of identity. And I just don't think cockiness for Barcelona really rolls them well. I mean, the same thing could be said about Real Madrid, who's also kind of, I mean, they're struggling left and right. Somehow they're in third place or second place in the La Liga. I don't know how and don't want to know how, but either way, that's my shocker. I think the worst moment of 2020, which could also be a shocker too, was the unfortunate passing away of the legend Diego Maradona. I think that came as really just like a bucket of cold water dumped over you. Um, a legend that struggled with a lot of what a lot of other athletes struggle with, drug addiction, and unfortunately, just a bad lifestyle. But besides that, I mean, he was a brutal person individually, but his talent was undeniable, and what he did in soccer was something that a lot of people nowadays are very thankful uh, for his part, for just being such a legendary piece to football in itself. I think the best moment for me was actually the run for fourth place for Manchester United against Leicester City, where it came down literally to the wire between them two, and they had to battle it out in points. Obviously, Manchester United didn't know how to take advantage of the opportunity given to them; they just choked. But besides that, I think that was the best moment, just because I think Chris is having a little stroke. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's just being Manchester United in the Champions League. I'll let you continue.
Listen, I think Big Red over here is just having a little moment of himself. Andrew, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to witness this. This is what happens when you get geriatric and you just start to lose it.
Cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. This is what happens when both of your teams are still in the Champions League and somebody's team is not.
I know.
See, I can't make fun of Andrew because Everton wasn't supposed to be there. This year they might be. So next year,
I
if
want
they're in
Everton
the Champions League, yeah. So I want to give him shit too.
Yeah,
I want to give him shit too.
Never in their history have they made the group stages, so I'm hoping it will happen sooner rather than later.
I'm hoping.
Well, listen,
that too.
depends on what the draw is. It's all about the draw. You worry about the draw. That's all you worry about.
Okay, Dad. Either way. So
okay, Dad.
Oh, guys. Hey, listen, don't be surprised if you see an announcement. Chris Jones is no longer with the Yellow Card Podcast. I'm just kidding.
You'd miss so much content, dude. It's unreal.
You would.
You would miss so much content. It's unreal.
But either way, I think that was honestly just the best moment for me personally. But I think moving on to 2021, obviously, I mean, it's been said before so many times. The English Premier League has got so much talent happening for them. And actually, another best moment too that I like to share is the signing of James Rodriguez onto Everton, just because everybody basically considered his talent done and washed. And here he comes to slap Zinedine Zidane in the face, square, just right where it hurts, and just show a massive performance with Everton. And I think he's been part of the reason why Everton is where they are right now. Obviously, Richarlison has a lot to do with that, and so does Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Carlo Ancelotti. But I think that additional piece of James Rodriguez with Allen and Ducari is just such a phenomenal move by Ancelotti that it's proven everybody wrong. You can never count a talent out until they're on the pitch and showing who they are themselves. I think the same exact thing could happen with Arsenal right now. If they were to put Mesut Ozil to play and all of a sudden Arsenal is just starting to take over the league, well, we all know where the problem came from. Mikel Arteta and himself only. But besides that, I'm looking forward to Qatar 2022. I don't know about y'all, but I'm looking forward to that.
Skipping over 2021, Diego.
Yeah, I mean, 2021 just sounds to be like such a hurdle over a year, just because again we're coming into 2021 with the recovery of the pandemic and hoping that the rest of the year kind of pans out evenly. So I kind of want to just jump the hurdle and get into the action.
So hold on. Before we do that, Andrew's gonna give us his worst moment of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
We gave him plenty of time. We gave him plenty of time. He's gonna know by now.
Yeah, the
That's the rule. You gotta know.
PSG Istanbul one that you mentioned, Chris, was probably the first one that came to my mind. I mean, in some ways it was nice to see the response, but obviously the fact that it happened at all is just horrible, especially like you said, after how racial equity has been such a focus in the soccer world over the past half a year to a year. To see that coming from someone who should be in a position to actually eliminate those things as an official, it was pretty disheartening, and it was really unfortunate that the players had to had to be put in a position where they had to make such a statement.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's sad, but listen, it's happening all over the world. It's not that it's okay to happen. Um, but I think as a human race, we're starting to realize that just when we thought a lot had changed, there's just a lot more to work with, and therefore, the change is only as good as we make it to be. And I think FIFA's got a lot of work to be done, but I think they eventually will get it done. I mean, they've been doing this for years. Every World Cup that you see, the first flags that come out to the pitch is FIFA and no room for racism right next to it. So the statement
I
can be
think-
done all in all, but until the
Yeah.
action isn't done, it's not over until it's over.
So one thing I want to ask you guys before we end:
Sure.
give me your bold take for 2021. Like I want a bold take for the year 2021. So when we
Okay.
look back next year, when we do the end of 2021, because trust me, this isn't a 1 year thing. This is going on.
Sure.
Let me tell you. So
Sure.
give me your bold take, because I want to listen to it. I want to listen to it in the air and just sit there. Especially you, Diego. Especially if you're wrong, I want to rub it right in your face.
You know what? I think it's time.
Give me your bold
for
prediction.
Manchester City to stand up and deliver on that Champions League title. I think I agree with what Diego was saying earlier, that although the opportunity is there in the Premier League, I think that's their number one focus right now. I think Pep really, really wants to win the Champions League with Man City. And I think it's kind of getting to him that they haven't yet. It's been a bit of a rocky road in that competition for them. And I think that's kind of, obviously they've had a number of domestic successes in England, but I think that's kind of the next step for them to take. So I guess that's my bold prediction. They're gonna win the Champions League this year.
Diego, give me yours.
You're not going to like it, but I'm just going to say it. My bold take for 2021 is we're going to see the Liverpool collapse. We've been hearing rumors of Mo Salah wanting out of Liverpool. So with Mo Salah wanting out of Liverpool, it's only a matter of time that Sadio Mane gets traded to Real Madrid and that Firmino gets traded to somebody like Bayern Munich or an Italian team like Juventus, who I can see landing. And so therefore, Liverpool's going to struggle for a few years to find, again, that offensive core that's going to give them a new identity. So therefore, my bold take for 2021 is that. In addition, I think we'll see a sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if he doesn't perform as well.
Nice.
And a fun fact, I agree with Andrew. I think Pep Guardiola wants that Champions Cup so bad because actually the last time that he won it was in 2011. And it's been some years. It's been some years with Pep Guardiola, so he needs it badly.
How about you, Chris? What's your hot take?
Let me see. I think my hot take for 2021. Let me think. I do like the Man City winning, but my bold take is that they're gonna lose this year, and what's gonna happen is they're gonna do everything in their power to drag Lionel Messi to come play for them, so that him and Pep can get it together. I think that's the story of 2021 that we're gonna hear about. The bold take that I'm going to give is that Juventus. Listen, nope. I'm already set in stone that we're not going to win the Champions League. It's not going to happen. But what I'm going to do is this, and I'm going to say it. Juventus is going to prime themselves to be the best football team in the world by this time next year. They're going to do the Bayern Munich approach, and they're going to get so much young talent and put it around Cristiano Ronaldo that they're going to legitimately solidify themselves as one of, if not the top team in all of Europe. Is my bold take. My second bold take is that the New England Revolution are going to win the MLS next year. 2021. Year
I
of the
like
Revs.
that one.
Year of the Revs.
I,
That's a
I,
hometown one.
I like that one too, and I could agree with that one, especially with the new signing too. Wilfred Captain. Oh my God, what a signing! What an absolute signing! But anyways, without further ado, that does it for episode 17 of the Yellow Card Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter. Don't follow Chris Jones if you don't want to see any of this stuff that he's doing.
If you don't want a good laugh, dude, don't follow me. It's fine. All I
No.
am is a good laugh.
No, do follow him. Do follow him. If you want a good laugh.
If you
Do follow
if you're in a bad mood and you need a laugh, you just follow me, and I'll
Yes.
literally just make you laugh. That's what I do.
So don't forget to follow us on our socials. Andrew is at his Twitter handle, AFAS.
Well, spell it
AFASC
out.
573.
Yeah, spell it out
Rolls
for the
off the
people.
tongue, you know.
Yep. Andrew, you mind
Jeez.
just spelling it out?
Yeah, AFASC 573 is my Twitter handle.
There you go.
You can find me
Then-
there.
You know your boy Chris. He is a C Jones Who 1212. Diego the DJ, myself here. And don't forget to follow us on Podcast Cart on Twitter. And as always, check out Spotify and YouTube, of course, SoundCloud as well. Thank you again for tuning in to episode 17. If we don't talk to you guys, have a wonderful holiday and Happy New Year to you all.